Hello, my name is Mara, and this is Books Like Whoa. Okay, so today I'm very excited because we are going to talk about one of my all-time favorite writers. And yes, I know I'm not alone in loving this person considering they're the best-selling author of all time, aside from God and the Bible, whatevs. The indomitable lady that I am talking about is, of course, Miss Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie is definitely the person whose work I have read the most of in the course of my life. I think I have read damn near everything she's ever written. I've held some back that I'm not totally done with her, and I've never read the works that she wrote under the pen name Mary Westacott, I think is what it is. But I have read, let's say, 80% of the books that she's written. And if the sheer volume of books I've read from her isn't enough to tell you, spoilers, I love her. I first tried her when I was in an airport out of things to read, because this was pre-Kindle days, and I needed to pick up something that would be kind of fun and quick. And I saw a little book called Hallowe'en Party, Halloween with a weird apostrophe in it, and it was Agatha Christie, and I thought, oh, well, I've always heard that that she's a great author. I should give this a try. And I was coming back from studying abroad in Cambridge. I knew she was sort of like one of the quintessential British authors of the 20th century, so it seemed appropriate. Little did I know that the obsession was about to begin. So now, 10 years later, I have read a lot of her, and one of the biggest questions that I get from friends and family is, with respect to kind of general recommendations, is they all know that I love Agatha Christie, and they say, hey, where would a good place to start with Agatha be? So I thought today I would do a quick video for you guys about my recommendations of where to start with Agatha Christie. So first things first, I think I should start by saying what I think are pretty indisputably considered more widely her 3 best novels that she ever wrote. There is some overlap between what I'm going to recommend and these 3, but I felt like it was fair to just sort of let you know, okay, if we're talking general consensus, here are the 3 that folks say are the best place to start. The first one is Murder on the Orient Express. This is a Hercule Poirot novel, and there has been a wonderful movie adaptation made in the 70s that I highly recommend. It has Ingrid Bergman, Sean Connery, a bunch of amazing actors in it. And besides that adaptation, I think there's a new one coming out this year, possibly. But even aside from any movie adaptations, this is just a fantastic novel. Probably the one I would most recommend to anyone. If I was going to just give you one, it'd be this. And I think probably considered to be her best work. After Murder on the Orient Express, I would say The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is probably considered to be her next best novel. I won't give anything away. I'll just say that there's a major sort of literary innovation in the mystery genre in this book. And again, it's another Hercule Poirot. It's good. I really like it. It's not a personal favorite, but it is a very important Agatha Christie work. And then the third, probably most recommended or most popular novel from Agatha Christie is And Then There Were None. This is a really good book. It's standalone in terms of there's none of her recurring detectives in it. I would say that it's probably her most popular. I feel like this is on a lot of school reading lists, and it's very entertaining. It's a great mystery, and one that I wouldn't hesitate to recommend to someone either. But aside from those 3 usual suspects, I have kind of 5 go-tos that I recommend to people, and then I have 2 cheater additional recommendations beyond that. So again, usually if somebody wants to start with Agatha Christie, my number 1 recommendation is The Murder on the Orient Express with Hercule Poirot, who I think is easily her most successful recurring character, recurring detective, who's a little Belgian French, no, not French, just Belgian man with a little mustache. Yeah, this is just a great book. It's a great mystery. It's very atmospheric. It's set on the Orient Express, so you kind of get the kind of exoticism of the 30s in this, which I do think that the film adaptation from the 70s captures very nicely. Great cast of characters, just a super solid mystery. I think even if you don't like other Agatha Christie's, This is a pretty safe bet as just an enjoyable, like, beachy kind of read. Nothing too heavy, very, very fun, and just really well written and very tightly paced. I think that's the biggest thing in this, is that it really moves along at a nice clip. So this is where I would recommend pretty much anyone to start. The other Hercule Poirot mystery that I would recommend anyone start with, and this is actually my very favorite Agatha Christie book, is The Mysterious Affair at Styles. This is actually the first book she ever wrote, and it's the first Hercule Poirot mystery, so if you're somebody who likes to start at the beginning of a series, even though Hercule Poirot's can be read really in any order, they're pretty episodic and not so much serialized, this is a great place to start. It's where he's introduced. It's set in a country house during World War I, and I think that it's got some nice twists and turns in it, and it gives you just a really nice sense of where she excels, which is in kind of creating stock characters, archetypes, that she fleshes out slightly. That's Agatha Christie's real strength, is her kind of ability to use flat characters in a very interesting way. And I think that this novel, more really than any other, exemplifies that. So the next thing I would recommend are Agatha Christie short stories. Now this is my collection, which has a bunch of different of her kind of recurring characters and some of their short stories. But in particular, I would recommend, it's called The 13 Problems, or The Tuesday Club Murders. That's a collection of Miss Marple short stories. In all honesty, I don't love Miss Marple for full novels all that much. I mean, she's fine. It's Agatha Christie, so I'm going to enjoy it, but it's not where I would start with her, aside from the short story collection. I do think that that's where Miss Marple is best used, is in those short stories. So The 13 Problems or The Tuesday Club Murders, I would say is probably my, collection recommendation, but just generally Agatha Christie short stories are delightful and I recommend them. So next up I have one that is a standalone, in the sense that it doesn't have any of her recurring detectives in it, and that is Crooked House. I really love this one because I think it's an interesting exploration of familial dynamics. There's a sort of claustrophobia to it because there's this big family living in one house, and the premise is that somebody has killed the grandfather and we're trying to figure out who that is, essentially through eugenics? No, not quite, but essentially the whole sort of underlying theme is, okay, this family has certain characteristics that they've all inherited from the grandfather, and each of them has inherited different parts of his personality. So which of those facets would be most likely to kill him? It's an interesting premise, and I think it's really engaging from start to finish. So it's one that I think is a great place to start at as well. And finally, for my core 5 recommendations of places to start with Agatha Christie, I would say The Secret of the Chimneys. And now, again, this one doesn't have a lot of recurring characters in it, but this is just such delightful frippery. I mean, it's less of a mystery and more of sort of like a rompy action adventure type novel. It's kind of hard to explain, but I would really recommend this. It's very much of its time, so it has some of that kind of interstitial war 20s gaiety to it, and I just think that this is a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something truly kind of pulpy and light and just a delight, I think that The Secret of the Chimneys, and then also The Seven Dials Club, which is sort of the duology with this one, are both just a lot of fun, nothing too serious, and maybe good for like summer beach stuff. Now, for my 2 cheater recommendations, so the reason I'm adding this on is because one of the number 1 things I recommend using Agatha Christie for is if you need an audiobook. The audiobooks of Agatha Christie are just a delight. David Suchet, who plays Poirot in the A&E adaptations, and I think they originate from the BBC, obviously. He has played Poirot for a smooth like 25 or 30 years, something crazy. He has the accent down to a T, and he just has the mannerisms, all the tics, and he communicates that really well on the audiobooks. He also does a pretty good job doing other voices for different characters, but I think that these are the perfect audiobooks for road trips. So most of them are between 5 to 8 hours long, so nothing too, a perfect amount for a good day of driving, but not anything, super long that'll take you days and days to get through. And because it's such light reading, I think it's really appropriate if you're driving, because it's nothing that's going to get too involved. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to listen to a really heavy audiobook when you're trying to concentrate on driving as well. So I think that they're a fantastic way to experience her work. So I wanted to give two shout outs of two of the audiobooks that I think are especially good. One is Cards on the Table, which is a Poirot novel. It's also just a really good Poirot book, but I think that it works particularly well as audio. I would actually recommend getting the audio over just reading the book. The other one that I would recommend for similar reasons that I think it's better on audio is The Big Four, which is again a Poirot one. You're seeing a theme that I do prefer the Poirots, but I think that it is a really nice one for a road trip as well, because it's essentially 4 novellas that are interrelated, so it's very easy for you to stop it, like if you just want to listen to it in chunks, or I kind of use it on a long drive. I'll re-listen to it to remind me of when I need to stop and stretch my legs, because it's about like 2-ish hours for each section. So I think The Big Four is a great one too. Of the other ones that I have mentioned earlier, I will tell you that I've listened to The Mysterious Affair at Styles, Crooked House, The Secret of the Chimneys. I think those are the other 3 that I've listened to of the ones I've mentioned. All 3 of them are very, very good, as well as And Then There Were None. That is also a very good audiobook. So any of those I'd recommend to you. And if you're interested in exploring Agatha Christie, I think audio for her is a great way to give her a try. Those are my recommendations on where to get started with Agatha Christie. I do think that I'm going to be doing an Agatha Christie reread this year. My thought is maybe doing all the Poirots. Yeah, maybe a couple a month, because they're not too hard to get through. And just kind of seeing how well they hold up, because it's been a while since I've done a reread of Agatha Christie. So I don't know, let me know what you guys think below in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow me on all the social medias if you are so inclined. That will be linked below. Yeah, and that's another day of my 30 days of content. Having a great time, and looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Bye!